Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Giardina, and this presentation is going to be about behavior change and specifically about increasing self-efficacy in the CrossFit affiliate. So CrossFit is the leading platform for increasing health, happiness, and performance. And a lot of those changes, or most of those changes, are taking place at the affiliate level. And making these changes is the job of the affiliate owner and the coach who are committed to changing behaviors of others, providing motivation for their athletes, and building confidence in their athletes for long-term success and improvements. So we're going to go over some terms before we really dig into the meat of this presentation. And the first one is behavior. So our behavior is how we act in response to a stimulus, and this stimulus can be internal or external. And in order to act, we generate a hierarchy of actions that are based on the information that we're receiving and our most accessible and probable behaviors. The behavior we're going to talk about specifically in this presentation is exercise. And exercise is a behavior that's based on the desire to increase physical fitness. We're talking a lot about behavior change. And when we're talking about behavior change, we're talking about generating new successful behaviors. And we want these new behaviors to become our most probable and accessible behaviors in that behavior hierarchy. And specifically here, we're talking about self-efficacy. And our self-efficacy is the belief in our own ability to succeed at a specific task. And it's one of the most widely accepted constructs in behavior change theories and models. So what we want to talk about first is, why are we trying to change people's behavior? So hopefully you're familiar with this sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, which essentially says that anybody will fall somewhere along this continuum based on a variety of different health and performance markers. What our goal is, or what we want to do, is we want to move people from left to right. We want to move people from sickness into wellness and then into fitness. And here are a few statistics and statements that kind of elucidate this need to change the behavior of others. Most of this is due to the monstrous rise in obesity and chronic disease. And obesity and chronic diseases are largely preventable diseases, and they're preventable by improving diet and lifestyle. Exercise is one of those more impactful lifestyle factors. Obesity has nearly tripled globally since 1975. In 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults were overweight, and over 650 million were obese. Obesity and chronic disease account for up to 70% of the deaths worldwide, which is approximately about 41 million deaths each year. So at the CrossFit affiliate, coaches and affiliate owners are working to improve the behavior of others with this goal of increasing fitness and health in all those who walk into the gym. So here we have two different graphs that are kind of showing fitness, graphically fitness and health. So when we're talking about increasing fitness, we're talking about increasing the work capacity, or your work capacity, across broad time and modal domains. And to simplify that, what we want to do is we want to increase your ability to generate power to accomplish tasks that are varied in movements and movement combinations and stretch across broad time domains. And then when it comes to health, we want to maximize your accumulation of fitness throughout your lifetime. And these results come through modifying behaviors of others using some of these behavior change tactics, where coaches are working hard to create better habits, provide motivation, and increase the belief in their athletes to continue to make improvements. And really the cool thing about behavior change that I've noticed is that we can we're going to walk through these constructs, and we're going to walk through self-efficacy. But what I've noticed is the really good coaches are actually doing this without really understanding what they're doing. It's kind of intrinsic to the program. It's intrinsic to quality coaching. Before we really dig into self-efficacy, let's just look really quickly at some of these common behavior change models and theories. I'm not going to list them out and really define each one of them, because I don't think that's what's really important here. But it's just important to understand that what these do is they attempt to explain how and why human behaviors develop and change, and describe behaviors and their influence. So I do think for like a head coach or an affiliate owner, it can help to have a baseline understanding of these theories and models. It provides a good understanding of the motivations, intentions, and self-efficacy of others when it comes to changing their behavior. It could just provide a pretty solid framework for understanding how others behave or how to change others' behavior. So let's dig into self-efficacy. So like we said before, self-efficacy is all about self-belief. Your belief that you can be successful at a task, then hopefully repeat that in that same task or tasks that are similar. So there are many ways to increase self-efficacy, and I really believe that the CrossFit gym is set up perfectly to take advantage of them. I do think it's also important to understand that self-efficacy is task specific. So what that means is that in the gym, you can have an athlete that comes in and they're really confident in their ability to perform something like Cindy, but they might have low self-efficacy or confidence in their ability to perform like a 1-rep max snatch. And what this means is some athletes are going to need some help in self-efficacy on that day and some won't. And it's important to understand how to figure this out. And one of the first things is you have to know your athletes. And secondary to that, you can just ask some very simple questions. So imagine coaching a class and you walk up, you're in front of the whiteboard and you're introducing the workout to the group. And, a simple question that you can ask once you provide them with the workout is, how do you guys feel about this workout? And really, in order for them to answer this question, they have to go through some level of metacognition where there's a self-assessment, there's assessment of the task, and then they have to determine their ability to perform that task. And there's a lot that we can learn from metacognition. So if an athlete answers this by saying, hey, coach, this is going to be a really brutal workout, but I love these workouts, I can't wait. Well, then we know, if we're kind of seeing where they fall in this self-efficacy scale, we know that they're pretty good. They're probably more on the right side of the scale. They don't really need a lot of help here. We can give them a high five and a hell yeah and send them on their way, right? But if another athlete says, hey, I'm not really sure about these workouts, I'm really terrible at these workouts, we might have to jump in really quickly because they're on the left side of the scale. We might need to help them build a little bit of confidence before they start this workout. And really what we can do here is we can try to reframe this. We can kind of take the problem and maybe turn it into a challenge. So instead of thinking, hey, I'm terrible at these workouts, maybe we can ask them to imagine that they were good at the workout, and then imagine how they would attack it if they were good at the workout. And really what this does is it creates imagery, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on. But they're starting to imagine themselves move through the workout well, and they're kind of practicing, how they would move to perform the workout well. And this kind of imagery can actually help when they get to some of these sticking points in the workout. So as we mentioned, there are many ways to increase self-efficacy. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the 4 kind of initial sources of self-efficacy that were presented by Dr. Albert Bandura. And those are mastery experiences, vicarious experiences, verbal and social persuasion, and emotional and physical states. So when we're talking about mastery experiences, we're talking about creating successful experiences for athletes to increase their ability to repeat it. Vicarious experiences where we learn from others, we learn from another's success, or we visualize ourselves being successful. And then verbal and social persuasions when we're receiving feedback or encouragement from others, or maybe we're providing ourselves with positive self-talk. Then emotional and physical states is where we can learn to manage stress. And the stress could be emotional stress or physical stress, but really what we're doing is we're developing the confidence in our ability to manage stress and perform these difficult tasks. So let's start by digging into mastery experiences. So as coaches, what we want to do with the mastery experience is we want to provide our athletes with successful events that require the right amount of effort. And this is an easy one for coaches because this has happened every day. The workout of the day itself, finishing the workout, putting your name on the board, and then putting your time up there. That's a mastery experience for a lot of athletes, just to be able to get through the workout. Learning a new skill, PRing a lift, PRing a benchmark, getting off the bands and getting your first pull-up. Anytime one of these things happen, we should celebrate it. That is a mastery experience for those athletes. We might have to dig a little bit deeper, though, and help our athletes strategically create goals. So whenever we're helping them create goals, we want to make sure that the goals that they're creating are they're valued and they're meaningful, and they do require the right amount of effort, and they have the right amount of difficulty associated with them. Because if we start creating goals that are too easy, we can create some false confidence in our athletes. And if we create goals that are always too hard, well, then we can diminish their confidence. So right amount of difficulty, clear and simple goals. The other part of that is we want to make sure that we're following up with goals. So I know that and I've probably been guilty of this in the past as well as a coach, but asking somebody what their goals are. Hey, they want to get a body weight snatch, having them write that sucker up on the goal board, and then that's it. There's no follow-up. There's no plan to get there. It's externalized. There's this kind of, outcome that they want to get to, but there's no real pathway to get there, which kind of brings me to this next point, which is understanding process-oriented goals versus outcome-oriented goals. Where an outcome-oriented goal is what we just talked about. I want to snatch my body weight. There's motivation there, and that's good, but what we don't have is any plan or any pathway to success. So what we want to do is take that and then start creating a process-oriented goal to get there. This kind of forces your athlete to internalize it. It forces them to create a measurable plan to get to success, and it creates habits to solidify behavior. So I want to snatch my body weight can very easily turn into, well, I'm going to practice, 3 snatch specific skills 2 days a week for 6 weeks. So now we have a how, a when, and a how often to get to that, towards that goal. So then another way to create a mastery experience is tracking your athlete's progress. And you guys, we can do this as coaches with apps or the use of a logbook, but essentially we want to create some kind of visual cue for improvement, because these improvements really help us build confidence and then repeat it. And then the last point is celebrating your athlete's success. So finding ways to celebrate, it could be as simple as high fives, shout outs on social media, maybe a longer formed report if somebody did something really big, lost 100 pounds, whatever it is, on like an email that can be sent out to the entire gym, right? You might even have to teach your athletes to celebrate. One thing we did when I was coaching at CrossFit Atlanta is we had the PR bell. And somebody PR'd, PR to lift, PR to workout, whatever it is, they run over there and ring the bell and just get a little bit of attention, have some people cheer for them because they put in the effort to get there, so they should be rewarded for it. And by being rewarded, hopefully they go after more goals and they can kind of take that success and apply it to other areas. So find ways to acknowledge success, because acknowledgement solidifies behavior, and then an effort can be repeated. We're going to take a quick look here at this outcome versus process-oriented goal thing. So imagine coaching and an athlete comes up to you and says, hey, I want to get my first pull-up. So one, this is awesome. It shows some motivation for improvement, but it is an outcome-oriented goal. So there's no real accountability to get here. There's no plan. And really, there's a lack of control of whether I get that pull-up or not. So what we want to do is change this into something that's more process-oriented. We can make it now, I'm going to perform 30 ring rows, 20 jumping pull-ups, and then 10 negatives per day, 3 times per week for 6 weeks. So now we have that how, when, and how often that creates this process-oriented goal. It creates a plan, helps us build this habit of practice, and then we have this quantifiable process to reach that goal. So the next part is vicarious experiences. When it comes to vicarious experiences, we can focus on 2 things, mainly modeling and imagery. So whenever we're talking about modeling, we want to try to find models that are similar and relatable to the person that's trying to make this behavior change. What modeling does for us, if we're trying to change, is it shows and proves that it's possible to achieve goals. So, if I'm coaching, an athlete comes up to me and says, hey, coach, I'm really upset. I still can't get pull-ups. And, maybe I can direct them to another athlete like, Bob over there, and say, hey, look at Bob over there. Bob finally got his first pull-up. And what he did, he worked really hard over the course of 6 weeks doing these things to get there. Now, if Bob's a relatable character, then there's a potential to create a vicarious experience. So if I'm like Bob and Bob is like me and he can do it, well, then maybe I can do it as well. Another way we can use modeling is by highlighting a successful athlete. So, we can highlight them before and after a class. You introduce them to 6:30 a.m. class. Hey guys, before we get started, let's talk about Susie over here. She's been working really hard over the course of the last 2 months to get her first muscle up, and bam, she finally got it. And if I'm in the class, and maybe I don't want to get my first muscle up, maybe I do, but maybe there's another skill that I'm trying to acquire, but I can relate to the effort and the work that she put in to achieve her goal, or maybe that'll help me put in that same amount of effort and work to achieve my goal. So, it getting your first pull-up or muscle up or completing your 50th workout or hitting full range of motion in the squat. Just be very aware of the improvements that your athletes are making, and then really try to present those to the group, whether it be at a class or social media, whatever it is, so other people can see it, relate to it, and then also try to replicate it. This can have a profound effect in increasing self-efficacy. The other part of this is just understanding as coaches that, you know, you're likely the ultimate role model for your athletes. Coaches are going to set the standard of behavior inside and outside the gym. So this could be scaling. You know, I worked a lot of level 1s and level 2s, and I'd say one of the most common questions that I got was, how do you get somebody to scale? And, well, that's a whole nother lecture in itself, but I think it also starts with understanding that you're a role model. So if you're working on a movement, or, you know, you're really beat up, or you just came back from being sick, well, then you should show that scaling is okay. You should not be afraid to scale and show the example of scaling. And this also goes for like creating the right culture in the gym. The culture starts with you. Nutrition. Don't be blasting social media with you eating donuts and eating pancakes all the time. And whatever they see you doing is what's going to become acceptable. You need to become the most credible source of information, because if you're the most credible source of information, there's a higher chance of your athletes listening to you. It's called the messenger effect. And then the next part of vicarious experiences is imagery. So with imagery, what we're trying to do is create these vicarious experiences using an athlete's past experiences or potential future experiences. So an example of a past experience is maybe an athlete comes in, they're new to CrossFit, they're new to your gym, but they do have a past competitive background, or they were a past athlete. And they tell you about that, and they say, hey, I kind of let things slide over the last 10 years, and I really want to get back into shape. Well, you can tap into that. You can kind of remind them that they know what it takes to get to that level, and we can use that as a way to create vicarious experiences based off of their past selves. And then with potential future experiences, you just want to have an athlete kind of imagine themselves accomplishing their goals. Newer athletes are typically worried about, just being judged, or how other people are going to look at them in the gym. And a lot of times they're worried about, being the slowest person in the class. I don't want to be the slowest person in the class. And you can't change that. So as coaches, we can't make them be the fastest. We can't change the fact that they're new and they're likely going to be the slowest. What we can do is start to have them imagine how it's going to feel when they get to their 50th workout. How are you going to move? How are you going to feel when you get there? And just have them replay that in their mind. And maybe that'll help them now in these workouts, but it'll also help them stick to the program and actually get to that 50th workout. So with each of these, we're trying to have them imagine themselves being successful and kind of practice this mental practice of success. So here's, just a quick example of modeling. Whenever modeling is happening, we're looking at the people around us, and we do this all the time. We want to see what they're doing, and if they're like me and they're doing the things that I can't do yet, well, then it becomes motivating. We tend to see this a lot at the open. I don't know how many times bar muscle ups have popped up in the open, and you have a handful of athletes that are so close to get in their first bar muscle up, and then all of a sudden one gets it and the other four are watching, and it's just that one little spark. It's seeing them get their first muscle up and knowing that I'm so close, and that they're like me and they got theirs. That might be enough to just give them that one extra nudge to get theirs, and all of a sudden you see 4 or 5 others get it, boom, right after that. So success in the affiliate can be contagious, and if we're setting things up right, properly with models, then we can kind of create that in the gym. So the other one's social persuasion, and this one's big in CrossFit. We're always talking about providing feedback and encouragement. So feedback, this happens all the time mid-workout when we're correcting movement or we're coaching effort. And we do that all the time, but we also want to make sure that we're acknowledging these improvements. We're not acknowledging improvements to build confidence in our athletes. So if I'm mid-workout and I'm telling somebody to push their knees out more, and they actually do that, well, I want to follow that up by, telling them, hey, that looks great. That's way better than it was before. And hopefully that's enough to get them to repeat that effort in that movement and then in other movements. We also want to encourage our athletes and create this kind of supportive environment within the gym. And I think this is something you do have to work on in your gym, but it's also kind of cool that it is somewhat intrinsic to the CrossFit class. Whenever we suffer together, it tends to build camaraderie and sportsmanship, and this idea of cheering each other on. The other part of social persuasion is positive self-talk. So instead of relying on other people to tell me things, I can, be more positive with myself. And this, when we're talking about positive self-talk, we're not trying to change how you feel about a situation. We're just trying to accept those feelings and maybe meet them with some level of positive affirmation. I'll take a look at an example here. So I don't know how many times I've been coaching and somebody comes into the class with, usually a new athlete and there's some fear. They're afraid they can't complete the workout. A lot of times they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of how people are going to look at them. And like I said before, there's no real control over that. But what we can do is we can teach them to be okay with this feeling and accept the challenge, and then create some level of intention to provide effort. So instead of saying, hey, I'm not sure I can complete this workout, let's accept that it's going to be a hard workout and turn it into, hey, this is going to be a tough workout, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And it's that last part, which is this intention to provide effort, that we can celebrate. It doesn't matter if you complete it or not. If you provided the right amount of effort, we can high five that all day long. And then the last one is emotional and physical states. And we're always managing these as coaches. I used to say coach, we're like 50% coach and 50% psychologist. It doesn't matter if you're a new athlete or an experienced athlete. There are going to be times when you're super nervous about the workout and you have some anxiety. New athletes do this the minute they walk into the gym. A new person comes in there, they're seeing everybody around them has all this experience, this kind of crazy workouts popped up. They have no idea what they're doing or how to do it. I mean, it presents a lot of nervousness and anxiety. And even experienced athletes could be learning a new skill or performing a benchmark again that they're, that something like Fran that they're afraid of. There's some level of nervousness and anxiety that we have to manage. And what we can do is educate them that fear and nervousness are normal feelings, and we can accept this as a part of our development, but learn how to pursue it as a challenge. And this is another area where positive self-talk and imagery come in. I just repeated Fran a couple months ago, and I've been doing CrossFit since 2006, and I still get nervous at workouts. And Fran came up, and I was nervous. I hadn't done it in a while. I was thinking back to the time I PR'd back in 2014, and am I going to get close to that PR? Am I going to be way off? And for me, I really had to remind myself, because I was nervous about the workout, that, hey, I've done this workout before and I've succeeded in this workout. And what this did for me is it allowed me to, one, create some positive self-talk, but two, imagine what it took for me to be successful in the past. What did the thrusters look like? How hard did I have to push them? What were my transitions like? What are the pull-ups like? And I was able to replicate that, not by PRing, but being about 3 seconds off this far, past that PR. It was 2014 when I PR'd, and 2 months ago when I got that close. So these kind of things work whether you're a new athlete or even an experienced athlete. You accept the challenge, tap into past experience, and imagine success. You also have to help athletes deal with physical stress. So if you're a new athlete and you've never done something like this, you're going to get sore. And being sore when you've never really been sore before can create some anxiousness. If you've never been in a CrossFit workout and all of a sudden this dramatic increase in heart rate or respiratory rate, or your quads are burning as you're blasting yourself on the assault bike, these are new experiences, and these can create anxiety and stress. So it helps to talk to your athletes prior to the workout, educate them on what they're going to feel mid-workout, what they can expect post-workout, and to some extent let them know that, hey, this is unavoidable, but you can build some trust with them so that they know that you can manage these stresses with this idea of scaling or focusing on recovery after the workout. We just want to give them the confidence to deal with this stress so that they can be successful later on. So here's an example. This pops up all the time. I was just talking to somebody the other day and the same thing came up, right? This major misconception of that you have to get fit before you actually try to do CrossFit. So, new people enter the gym and, they understand that CrossFit is hard, and they might say, hey, I'm too out of shape and CrossFit is too hard. And there's no changing this, that CrossFit is hard. And I think the idea is to teach them how to accept this and reframe it from a problem into a challenge. Today is going to be hard. It's your first day. Yes, it's going to be hard, but you're going to get through it. I'm going to help you get through it. And we're going to build some confidence in their ability to take on this challenge and trust you to help them to get through it. So those are our 4 sources of self-efficacy. Now, there's no one way to implement these in the gym. I think the best idea is just to mix it up as much as you can. This is this constant mix of time at the whiteboard where you can discuss goals, share progress and achievements. You can start to determine the physical and emotional states of your athletes. You want to utilize things mid-workout, provide feedback mid-workout, acknowledge their improvements, maybe help with some positive self-talk or imagery. You definitely want to be encouraging your athletes mid-workout. And one-on-one conversations to discuss goals or follow up on goals, manage these emotional and physical states, teach them positive self-talk and imagery, and maybe track their progress. Utilize as many different communication outlets as you can, social media, emails, whatever it is, to help celebrate these achievements, creating vicarious experiences, and following up on people's goals. Experiment with all this as much as you can and as often as you can. So we talked about these reasons why we want to change people's behavior earlier on with that sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. And we look at fitness in 100 words. This is a great example of the behavior we want our athletes to get to. So what do we do from here as a coach? You just listen to me talk a lot about self-efficacy. Does this mean that as a head coach or an affiliate owner, I want you to teach all of your coaches about, the 4 sources of self-efficacy and behavior change constructs and all that stuff? No, not necessarily, because what I think happens is, well, if the affiliate owner knows it and the head coach knows it, all they really have to do is teach other people how to apply it. We'll also see that just good coaches that come to this program, they do it naturally. It's intrinsic to the CrossFit program and quality coaching. I mean, that was the first thing I noticed as I started to study behavior change, is that great coaches and great affiliates were doing this without even knowing they were doing it. I thought that was the coolest thing. But as CrossFit grows and different types of athletes come in with different fitness levels and different backgrounds, we may have to tap into this and understand it a little bit more to help them build their confidence in certain areas of CrossFit. Also, as more coaches come in, we might have to develop them a little bit more, and it might help for them to understand these constructs in order to apply them. But like I said before, I think the CrossFit gym is set up perfectly to increase self-efficacy in others, in their athletes. And I really do think that increasing self-efficacy is a key component to increasing the health, happiness, and performance of others. So thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation. Here's the list of references that I used. Thank you for your time.